All right. Hello and welcome to A Gay and a NonGay.
Hello, I'm James Barr and I'm gay.
Yeah. Yes, he is. I'm Dan Barr. Dan Barr?
Did you? Oh, so Dan's now also gay.
Oh.
We're married.
I'm Dan Hudson and I'm non-gay, and DDC returns to the podcast.
Hello, and I'm a they. So we've got a gay, a non-gay, and a they.
Yay, a gay, a they, and a non-gay. Fabulous. How are you, Divina de Campo?
I'm great, thank you. How are both of you? You're looking gorgeous today.
Really good, thank you. Well, I can only speak for myself as a gay, but I am experiencing queer joy, I feel, at the moment.
Good, I love that for you. I mean, I'm experiencing queer existential dread. Outside of wearing a blue wig, I've shaved my head and dyed it all blonde, which is just peak gay crisis.
Absolutely. So you've shaved your hair and dyed it blonde. That's quite the challenge because it hurts your scalp.
Yeah, but no pain, no gain.
To be honest, I think I am also experiencing queer existential dread. I just want to pretend that I'm not. So I'm sort of in denial. I think Delulu is the Salulu. No,
Yeah.
Probably not. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's that, or you have kind of a couple of choices, don't you? You can either not engage, or you can really engage, and you can try and do something about the world that we're living in. Those are kind of your choices, aren't they, at the moment? Either ignore it all or do something about it.
Yeah. Which side are you on, though? I think you're on the do something about it side.
I'm always do something about it.
Do you think it's wrong if I just switch off for a minute?
No, look, all of us have to take time out and just go, listen, I'm not here for this right now. I just don't have it in me. And that's okay, because that's when other people step up and, they carry on. And, I've escaped from the Musk hellscape that is X. And then I've trotted back because, things are happening and I want people to know.
I have stopped opening it and I do feel a lot happier since I did that.
Same. Generally what I'm doing is I'm just looking at mentions and I'm sharing whatever's doing with me, rather than doom scrolling and looking at the absolute hellscape that is now ex-Twitter,
But it's crazy because as soon as you open it, within about 1 second, it will serve you a really triggering bit of content, like right at the top, and then you're in. And so
so you just have to not look at any of that. Don't look at it. It's fine. Just ignore it. Pretend that doesn't exist.
I really miss Twitter. I loved it so much. And
yeah.
I feel like throughout the day, I've got multiple things that I want to post on Twitter and there's just nowhere for it to go. Do you have that?
Yeah,
because there's not really anything has taken its place.
Yeah,
that's been the big issue with that is, Threads is not it and Blue Sky is not it. And, they've attempted to create those spaces, but they have failed, unfortunately.
The first thing
at some
that comes
point,
up when
something
I open
else
it
will arrive. It always does. Something else will pop up and go,
well, Blue
hello.
Sky is pretty good.
Yeah. I haven't quite got to,
the gay porn creators all moved to Blue Sky, and I think that did give it a big surge. But unfortunately, unless everyone's there, it doesn't work, does it? But Guardian's there, like people that have stopped posting on X have moved to Blue Sky, so that's an option for you. The first thing that came up when I opened Twitter was Donald Trump feeling sorry for Elon Musk because he's been treated very unfairly, even though he's a billionaire and doing quite well, actually.
Because in a capitalist system, people have decided to stop buying his products.
Maybe
that's almost like you voted for the leopard-eating party, you got the leopard-eating party, and now the leopards are eating your face.
Right. It's stupid, though, because I just don't understand why these rich billionaire people are always the victim, even though they're literally doing so well. And if anyone's being treated unfairly, it's his children.
Yes, absolutely.
But he's not doing quite as well as he was, because from what I understand, Tesla's share price is down quite a bit. So I think that's what his...
woe is him. Have you seen the price of eggs, America?
His gender-affirming care has been going really well. That hair transplant, the jaw injections, all of that stuff that he's been using to just masculinize what was basically an uncooked Yorkshire pudding of a face has actually worked quite well for him, I think. So there is, at least he is proving that gender-affirming care is effective.
Lol.
We could end today's episode there, to be honest. We've only been recording for 3 minutes, and already that's the tea, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's it.
this is the first time we've had you on, Davina, when we've had a Labour government in, because every time we've had you on before.
Well, do we have a Labour government in? I'm not sure we do, darling. I think we may have a Labour in name and a Tory in action government.
I mean, quite possibly.
It does feel like that, doesn't it? Dan, you just sort of left that there. You didn't respond. You asked the question and then went silent.
I'm loath to express a political opinion.
Oh, okay.
I know. Can you believe this shit?
Nice.
This is what I have to work with, Davina.
No, let me rephrase
It's
that.
because he gets paid by the BBC
generally,
sometimes.
I find that people who are loath to express a political position generally are so far right that their parents wouldn't speak to them anymore if they actually said what it was in their head.
I mean, maybe that's not though. What I mean is.
Are you joining Reform? Is that what you're telling us?
I've dug
You're
myself.
standing in the next election as a candidate for Reform Party.
I've dug myself a hole here.
No, it's because he does work for the BBC and he's building up his part here, where he thinks that if he ever said anything political, they'd fire him. They literally don't care about him.
No, they don't. But by political, I sort of mean party political, because I do express political opinions like quite a lot. But explicitly like pro one political party or another, I generally don't do that.
Right. But you don't need to talk about the party. You can just talk about the government.
Yeah.
So go for it.
Policy. The
Well,
policy of taking more money away from disabled people who've just suffered 14 years of austerity, and it's killed literally hundreds of thousands of disabled people in this country. The policy of taking away personal independence payments, which are there in order to help them get to work, is so it will do the absolute opposite of what they're saying it's going to do. Personal independent payments are literally there so that you can get a taxi because you are unable to walk properly, or you have a car that's modified, or you have a scooter or something like that. It gives you the ability to live your life. That's the idea of it. So by taking that away from these people, the stat is that it could plunge up to 700,000 people into poverty. Well, what a great start. What a wonderful, wonderful idea. When over the last 14 years, those, like you were saying, James, the billionaires right at the top, we have more of them and they have more money than they've ever had. They have a bigger share of the nation's wealth than they've ever had. So, to me, they're literally right there. They're literally right there. We're going to have to make some tough choices, but those tough choices are always the least able to defend themselves.
Yeah.
And also, if you think
we got deep real quick in this.
No, I love babes. What else was this going to be? It's you and I against the world. And in terms of their position on trans people, it's like carry on. It's just the Tories, isn't it? They've just literally picked up the mantle and carried on.
I mean, it's actually even worse, because when you think about what Theresa May's position was, which isn't that long ago, we're talking just over 5 years since Theresa May, which seems crazy, doesn't it? Now, and her position was that self-ID was a good idea. It would make trans people's lives easier, and the effect on the general public at large would be absolutely minimal. I mean, the effect of self-ID anyway was literally just so that it would make it easier for trans people to get driving license, a birth certificate, and a death certificate, and a marriage certificate. It was literally about paperwork. That was the only thing that it would change, because in effect, we've had self-ID in the country forever, because you've never had to show a woman card or a man card to go into a changing room, to go into a toilet, or to go into a gym. That's not something that happens. You just go and do those things. So effectively, we've been running under a self-ID system forever anyway. So this was literally just something that would change documentation, how difficult that process is to get your documentation changed. And now we're at the point where we have people like Wes Streeting who are going further than any, the cash report is deeply flawed, in my opinion.
Yes. And
the opinion of most medical organizations globally. And he is going further than any of what she'd said. The recommendations were that it should be decentralized, which would mean that it would make it easier for trans people to access gender affirming care. That was the point of decentralization, so that we weren't all waiting for, most trans people are waiting 4 to 10 years to even be seen by a specialist. So, this is a huge waiting list for people, and it was about decentralizing that to make it easier to access. He's done the absolute opposite. So he's gone way beyond any of the recommendations, and he's actually done the complete opposite of some of the recommendations at the same time.
And why do you think that is?
Why do I think that is? Because he is ideologically driven rather than evidence-based.
What, Keir Starmer?
No, I don't think Keir Starmer has any ideology at all. But Wes Streeting he's a pick-me, is how I would describe him. He's a pick-me. I'm a good gay. I'm one of the good ones. Well, listen, when they come for you, they come for you. And it won't stop because you're a good gay. No one gives a
He's not a good gay. He's a toxic gay.
We just need to build solidarity with each other and stand up as a country against, these people who are trying to deflect and distract us from, things which have a material effect on our lives, which is billionaires buying up all the infrastructure and extracting as much money and wealth out of the country as possible. I was talking about this yesterday. We have to change the CEO incentive structures. A CEO's incentive is to put as little money into a business as possible, as little money into the workers' wages as possible, so that the company's profits that year, next year, the year after will be as high as possible, therefore giving all of your shareholders more money, and then the CEO gets a much bigger bonus. So we have to change that incentive structure so that CEOs actually have to be looking at the well-being of their workers and the long-term stability of those businesses. Because we've had 40 years of this idea of let's extract as much as we possibly can, and everything is crumbling around our ears. And that's because we haven't had the investment into the businesses that is required, which is what's made our productivity compared to the other nations in Europe much, much lower. So you have to change that incentive structure, and you can do that through legislation, and you can do that through taxation. But, currently we have people who are so wedded to neoliberal capitalism that they can't see that neoliberal capitalism is actually making us and the country much, much poorer. Oh my God, I didn't realise I was doing a TED Talk this week.
I want your TED Talk. I bought all the tickets. I
just came to have fun, and suddenly I just went down this
Divina for president.
Have you ever been asked to go on Question Time?
I've been on the roster for Question Time for 5 years, and they haven't asked me once.
Why?
Why do you think that is?
That's a good question.
Maybe if the clown sat at the end of the table is the only one actually talking any sense and makes everybody look so foolish, then the whole system falls apart,
Yeah.
I would guess that's probably the case.
Yeah, maybe you should do
scared.
any questions instead on the radio ones, so that again, I'm digging myself a hole here that I didn't mean to get into.
Yeah, I don't know what you were trying to say there.
Talking of things that happened, here's a segue. Talking of things that happened 5 years ago, you were on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Whoa. Yeah, no, let's not do that, Frankie. Let's not rewrite history.
No, let's not do that.
But coming for you. I'll be Divina de Cancelled, and so will you.
You've been Divina de Cancelled a few times, I think.
you were on RuPaul's Drag Race five and a bit years ago, right? How do you sort of reflect on that time?
It has opened so many doors for me, and it has given me a platform and an ability to speak to people that I never would have come across. I've been gifted the most amazing community of people who follow me around, and they come to my shows, and people are still interested. How many people have been on a reality show and 5 years later they've completely disappeared? There's not a trace of them. So I'm just phenomenally grateful to World of Wonder and BBC Three for allowing me to be my completely insane mid-manic moment that I was on the show, and create those connections with all these wonderful people.
Do you think you were lucky to be on season 1 because it was new and it was an interesting, different thing?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's, there's an element of, the OGs are always, kind of more firmly planted in people's minds. If you think about Pop Idol, we still know who Will Young and Gareth Gates are, but I'm not sure I could name all that many people from the last 10 years, from X Factor or from any of those kind of shows. I'm just not sure that I have those names to hand. Rachel Adedeji. I mean, I've got that one. I can remember.
Fleur East.
Fleur East, of course.
Diana Vickers.
Gorgeous Fleur. Oh, Diana Vickers is a dream. I sat with her for a dinner for a thing, and she was so much fun.
Oh, love Diana. I mean, Diana's one of us,
Yeah.
She's one of the queer girlies as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
She's definitely in our club.
But she's longer than 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Don't look at me. I
don't really think about age as a part. I don't really do the passing of time, Divina. I sort of stay. I'm very ageless.
Well,
I don't know why that's funny. What did you say?
That's what I asked my doctor for as well. I just want the ageless look. Thank you.
Yes, please. Thank
Fill
you
me
so
up.
much. Obviously, in season 1, you were friends with the Vivienne, and that has just been so sad. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. Like you say, it's just incredibly sad. And I'm most sad for her family and her friends and her dog. Like, poor Panda. I cannot imagine what that must have been like to come into that house and find your child the way that you found them. I cannot imagine what that would do to a person. And she was such a phenomenal talent, an absolute powerhouse on stage, her makeup skills, her vision for what she was doing. And I think the worst of it is that she really stepped into a place where she was genuinely very happy. She was doing musical theatre, which was something that she absolutely loved. And that has been cut short, which is just dreadful.
We're going to talk to you about Drag Fox, your new movie, next. But we'll take a quick break.
All right, welcome back to A Gay and a NonGay with Divina de Campo.
Yes, this is your second appearance on our podcast. And it feels amazing to have... Is it second?
I think it's been a few.
Has it? It could have been 3,
Third. Yeah, I feel like it might have been the third.
It's our threesome.
And then I was supposed to do an IRL one, but either the pandemic happened or... I
think it was the pandemic, else. So we must have done it on Zoom. So we haven't done it in person. Oh.
No.
What does that say about us? We barely do Zooms now. So actually it says a lot about how much we love you. And we do. And we're so excited about your new movie, which is part of BFI Flair. We love the guys at BFI Flair and the girlies and the lays. So tell us about Drag Fox, your film with Ian McKellen. I mean, how crazy to say those words out loud. How did that hit?
Isn't that crazy? I got to make a film that is voiced by Ian McKellen. He does all the speaking parts and I do the singing in it. And it's called Drag Fox. And it's the creators have really carefully crafted this stopgap animation. And they've taken the idea of, a fox is classed as like a scary thing, even though foxes generally aren't actually very scared.
I mean, they are quite scary.
But there's always these sort of urban myths and legends of, and I'm not saying that it's never happened that a fox has run in a house and eaten somebody's baby, but there's always this story about, Aunt Sue, when she left the door open, a fox came in and savaged 7 of her children. So there's this idea that foxes are innately very scary. And at the moment in the political climate, we're having the same thing, that drag is innately very scary, even though, it's literally just somebody in a silly costume being silly. And it also addresses the difference between identity and performance. So the difference between a kind of trans identity and a performance. So this drag fox climbs through a window at the top of the house where a child is trying on a dress and finding themselves, essentially. That's what's happening. And it's very funny. It's very campy and kitsch, but it's also very beautiful, actually. And the drag fox is kind of very flippant and off the cuff, offhand. But then as the story unfolds, you find out more about what's really happening. And it's only a short film, but it was such a joy to be a part of. And yeah, the creators are just really, really fantastic. And it's been all over the place as well. It's been, shown all over the place. And it's now being shown at BFI Flare on the 20th of March. That's when the first screening is happening. And then a week later on the 27th, there's going to be a second screening of it as well. And it's as part of their Let Trans Children Bloom season, which has always been a kind of very popular series for the BFI, which has been running for 39 years, which is wild. Wow. An LGBTQIA film festival, which has been running, it's the 39th iteration of it. So there's 5 other films that are all part of this sort of event, and it's been such a joy to be a part of the Drag Fox happening, and to get to work with Ian McKellen. I mean, I didn't get to work with him, I didn't get to meet him, but I've met him before because I hosted a dinner up north and he was there. So I sat across from Ian McKellen eating chips and lasagna.
Chips and lasagna.
Double carbs.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Double dipping on the carbs.
What was he like?
Lovely.
Yeah,
really, really wonderful. I just finished Drag Race, so I was completely bonkers. And I don't know if you've heard of them, but the Sunday Boys, it's a choir which is based up here in Manchester. And they sang You Will Be Found.
Oh, no, from Dear Evan Hansen.
Oh, my God, I just sat and cried the entire way through. And then I had to get up and talk, and I'm just going... Because I was just such an emotional wreck after Drag Race.
Oh, Ian McKellen is such a babe, though.
Yeah, he was so great. He was so funny and chatty all the way through. And then, like I say, I was hosting, so I had a microphone in my hand. And he just stood up and he was like, "No, I won't use a microphone. I have a big enough voice without. Thank you." And just, spoke to the room. And his voice, it really is just that. It just creates so much sound that he filled the entire room. You could hear everything. Yeah, he's incredible.
Wow. Just to clarify as well, you haven't eaten any babies.
No, I'm not really a fox, and I haven't eaten any babies. No, definitely.
Is it weird seeing yourself as a fox?
It's very, it is very odd. But I kind of tried to be more the fox than I did Divina de Campo, if that makes sense. So it's not necessarily, it's voiced by me, but it's not necessarily
method acting.
Method, darling.
Did you start going into random kitchens in the north just to get into the role?
Yeah, exactly.
I do actually have a serious question. What do you want people to take from this film?
Kids are kids, and you have to listen to kids. And trans people are the most tiny population in the country, and they have this absolutely huge amount of press, and particularly negative press about them, which bears no relation to the reality of most trans people's lives. And most trans people that I know, they knew from a very early age, and trans affirming care saves lives. It just does. You can fearmonger all you like, but the stats are really clear, and the research that has been done is really clear. It's a shame that Hillary Cass decided not to admit any of that evidence, despite in her report making assertions that were grounded in less evidence than what she'd held other people's reports up to.
Right.
I mean, the Cass report is just, it may as well just be in the bin. Like, it's just...
Yeah, but unfortunately, it has been used as a foil to roll back people's rights and to demonize people. that's the reality of what it's being used for. And whether she intended it to do that or not, that is what it's being used for.
Do you share?
And like I say, some of the recommendations that she's made in there are things that she's thought or felt, and they aren't based in any kind of hard data. It's just things that she gets a feeling that this would be a good idea.
Right. It's not fact.
No.
So why are we paying
Why
any
are we
mind
listening to that?
it?
Yeah.
Do you share the feeling that I see a lot at the moment, where as queer people, obviously, the world is a very difficult place to live in, and America, the UK, it's going backwards. I was about to say it feels like it's going backwards, like it literally is going backwards. Do you share that feeling of like, we are still here?
Yes, absolutely.
We're not going anywhere.
We've been through all of this before. We had all of this through the 80s and the 90s, and we've been through it, and we came out the other side, and we made huge strides forwards, and we can absolutely do that again. This feels to me very much like the last push of, the last dying gasp of that old way of looking at the world, that might is right, and, if you're not strong, then you're a loser, and, be the, what do they say? Be the wolf, not the bunny, Actually, we need more cooperation, we need more solidarity, and we need more understanding. And hopefully this film will do a little bit of that.
I think you're so right. It does feel like it does. That video of Elon Musk and Donald Trump with the Tesla outside the White House, it's just desperate. Like the whole thing it's starting to be very obvious to me now that it's not even scary. It's actually just like really embarrassing and sad and desperate. And I do think you're right. I think it's like their last chance to try. They're desperate to like try and bring back toxic masculinity, but it's so transparent and it will just fail very quickly.
Yeah, because people aren't going to put up with it. You want it to be like it was in the 70s, and you can smack a woman's bum in the office, and that's fine, and you can make lewd jokes or comments or... No, we're not putting up with that anymore. And you feeling like, oh, I can't say anything. You can say whatever you like. Well, that means that there's consequences. So there weren't consequences before because you were all in power. You were all in charge. It's not that anymore. And we're not going back there. We're not allowing that to happen again. So do whatever you like, love, but there'll be consequences. And oh my God, that sounds like I'm ready for a fight.
I think you are, and I'm joining you, babe. I'm right with you.
But it's just
I also just love you reducing Donald Trump to do whatever you like, love.
Yeah, do whatever you like, love. Stormy Daniels told us all what it's like down there, so we all know, don't we?
That was one bit of information I didn't want to look at. So the film Drag Fox is part of 5 Films for Freedom, which is a BFI Flair partnership with British Council. What can you tell us about the other movies?
I think the best thing about these 5 films is that you'll be able to see them all globally. So for the last, it sort of launched in 2015. Did the 5 Films for Freedom, and since then over 20 million people globally have been able to see these films, and that's what you'll be able to do. So there are countries where it is still obviously illegal to be gay, and people are able to access those films in those countries and everywhere else in the world as well. So this isn't just something that's happening, in London and it's there. This is something that is being exported globally. The films as well themselves are drawn from all over the world as well. So there's been contributions for these 5 films from all over the world, and so they will then be broadcast globally as well.
Great. So you can watch Drag Fox and 5 of the other films.
Yes.
So you can watch Drag Fox online right now as part of BFI Flair London's LGBTQI+ film festival.
Yes, and those are going to be available from the 19th of March until the 30th of March as well for you to see.
Davina, you also have a solo tour coming up, and you start at the end of April. It's called I Do Think.
Yes, because I do, because I spend most of my time thinking. And it's funny to me that I've kind of become known for this saying, I don't think, when really I spend so much of my time thinking. So I thought, well, I'll play on that a little bit. And it's basically, 40 years flying around on this rock in this meat sack. It's all the things that I've learned about life and about people and how we interact in the world. and the things that little life lessons.
And do you sing as well?
Oh yeah, they're singing and dancing, and there'll be comedy. So you've been warned. It's Divina de Comedy. So
Love it.
More dad jokes than anything else. So be prepared.
And we're going to get your political insights and just everything. I mean, this is perfect. This is this sounds like the greatest night out ever.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I talk about it, and I'm very aware that it sounds like I'm very serious.
No, it doesn't sound serious, babe. Although you are politically on it, you are not a serious person.
No, I'm not a serious person. This is true. So this is just going to be, lots. Oh, I just fluffed my microphone. This is going to be just a lot of fun and joy. It's going to be 2 hours of having some fun.
Oh my God, 2 hours. That's crazy. Amazing.
Yeah.
You're getting a lot of bang for your buck here.
Yeah, you are.
Where can we get tickets, please?
You can get tickets at divinadecampo.com, which is DIVINADECAMPO.com.
Or just Google it and Google will correct you.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Divina, before we let you go, how are you feeling in light of the allegations against Gina De Campo?
You said his name wrong.
What's his name?
Gino De Campo.
Gina.
Not Gina, like Gina G.
Oh, sorry.
Gino's sister.
Gosh, imagine having a joke and then absolutely failing.
Well, he's been cancelled, so...
Darling, you're talking to me. I mean, come on. I can't set a joke up, never mind deliver a punchline.
Yes, you can. Amazing. Well, we'll see you on tour, and thank you for being on A Gay and a Non-Gay.
Thank you so much. Love you. Bye.
See you later.